Hey, what's up there, my friends? This is Dave Wood here, and I'm sitting in my little office in St. George, Utah, and I wanted to talk about the only government-approved money-getting system. So let me tell you this story. So a few years ago, I'm in this place, and this is about my presidential campaign. Just remember King David 2020. So a few years ago, I'm in this thing, and it's like this gold and silver currency MLM. It was called Numis Network, and Numis Network sold minted MS-70 gold and silver coins, like the highest quality gold and silver coins from Anax or whatever the people that grade collectors coins. So essentially, they're just getting gold and silver coins, and then they're putting them in a little container and then selling them for like $120. It's the most genius scam ever. So in any case, the only government approved money getting system. What it's all about. So I these things are minted by the government. So I did this video called The Only Government Approved Money Getting System, and I made like 200 recruits from that video. It was like an incredibly high converting sales getting video that I did. And it was hilarious. I had this thing where I'm like barefoot and I'm getting gold and silver coins, and then I'm saying the only government approved money getting system again and again. So if you want to know how popular this idea is going to be, just walk down the street and ask 10 people, hey, have you heard of the only government approved money getting system? And then start laughing, and then and they'll be like, no, I haven't heard of that. And be like, would you like to know what it is? Like, what's the only government approved money getting system? It'll become like a meme of society. Right. So in any case, what's the only government approved money getting system really all about? Well, I was going to do, I got this brand, of course, and I was going to do a bunch of things with it. But then I realized what I wanted to do with it. And that was, I actually want to make a government approved money getting system. I mean, it's always been my dream, you know what I mean? Because the government is like, you can't make any money. You're not welcome to make money. It's not allowed. This is the USA government. We only spend money, and we only get in huge amounts of debt here. We do not want to help you get money, right? Oh, unless you're paying taxes, and then, of course, get as much money as you possibly can. But there's the few and far in between would say. They're like, we don't want you to take advantage of people. We want you to do what we want. No making money in the governmental allowance. Right. So in any case, all right. What's the problem with the government? The problem with the government is the government makes no money. Right. Now, this comes from, old philosophy and stuff like that, like with old economists and stuff. And all this stuff has value, where the government is, their job is to essentially, protect people's freedoms and liberties. And that's really all their job. And then the government gets sustained by a tax on society. Right. Well, this works, especially if the tax is managed properly, especially if it's an excise tax, it can work quite well. But really, this never happens without governments getting in enormous amounts of debt, because the nature of government, if left unchecked, is to just spend. Go to usnationaldebtclock.org, okay, and just look at the debt growing exponentially in the United States. And this is just the U.S. They got a world debt clock too. And this is basically the central banking system enslaving humanity to their will by making us owe them tons of money that we don't even know we owe them. So they essentially can come in anytime they want, and they can come saying, give us this and that. Right. So it's a power thing is really what it is. But really, it's a slavery thing. It's no different than the atrocities of the slavery and, a couple hundred years ago. You'd say it's a lot different than, people are not generally treated like that and stuff like that. But, there's bad things happened with slavery a long time ago. But the reality is that this is slavery that nobody knows. People are like, we don't have slaves now. Oh, yeah. All of society is slaves. They're slaves to the central bankers. The Bible says the borrower is slave to the lender, right? And so in any case, right, we got to liberate ourselves from that slavery, right? So the nature of the government is to spend a lot of money. The nature of the government is to spend a lot of money. The nature of the government is to spend a lot of money. And so what do? We got to change the nature. How do we change the nature? We change the nature by creating a system where the way people keep track and the way people keep score in the government totally changes. So, for example, I learned from somebody that was working with me a long time ago. This guy in particular said that every employee of his is responsible for bringing in 30 times the amount of money that it costs them for their salary. Now, I actually think that's excessive. I think it should be like maybe 10. But this guy was a prosperous, he had a lot of money, and that's what he did. So the way that his employees kept score was they kept score by how much money they're making the company. The way the government keeps score is how much money they spend. This is actually the problem. The way that they keep score is actually the problem. Okay. Because if they're keeping score by how much money they spend, well, they're doing a fantastic job, and they've got a fantastic score manifested by the U.S. National debt, right? Manifested by the U.S. national debt. So the reality is that if we want to change the system, we got to change the way that people keep score. And how do we change the way that people keep score? We change the way by building a technology-based system that's open, that has a closed source system, that's the government system, and then it's piggybacked with an open source system for the United States. So it's a closed source system with an open source system, okay? And the closed source system is the thing that, proprietary government software or whatever. And then the open source system is the thing that it's like all the WordPress coders and all the coders of different languages can all add to the open source code of the system to make the system be able to manage every part of society, manage every part of society, to be able to help make the system to where the system can help manage businesses, to where people can make money from the system in different areas, to where we integrate affiliate programs. For example, you just like have your social security number and your ID number or whatever in the government approved money getting system. And then people plug in their affiliate programs, and then you just got your links. So you don't need to do anything. You know what I mean? Because we got all this technology and stuff like that to make sure that. So what would we do with that? Well, then what the government would do is the government would say, okay, we're going to pay affiliate commissions to the people for promoting all your different business and your products and services and stuff like that. And then the government earns an override of what we promote in private industry. And we get basically all of the United States involved in promoting each other's businesses and promoting each other's products and services. And then the government would earn like a 10% override or something like that. Or if there was their own commissions or whatever, they could earn those too. But they would earn an override that would go into the government as a profit system. So now all of a sudden, the U.S. government is profiting from helping you promote your businesses and helping you promote your products and services, just like ClickFunnels does, just like Amazon does, just like every other big successful company does, just like my company, it's really a ministry, the Kingdom of Elohim does. We look, the reality is, or the teachings of King David, I do that too there. But I'm not done with that system yet. That's going to be probably one of my next projects here. I got to build like one system probably a month because they take me a long time to complete a system. So I got to build my Blanc system or whatever. So anyway, we build this system. The system is what takes care of society. The system is what nurtures society. The system is what gives a feedback loop on society and tells people when they're doing well. So now all of society can make money, helping the government do what? Make money and profit and also spend more money. And now all of a sudden we've got a government that doesn't even need taxes. I want to hear again. My goal is to actually make it so the government does not need ever again taxes. However, it will still have a 10% excise tax on society. However, my goal is to make it so the government needs no taxes. Why? Because if the government needs no taxes, all of a sudden the United States government is prosperous, and all of a sudden there's an overflow of wealth from the government. The money's getting in. Where would that overflow of wealth go? That would go back to the people to help with retirement, to help take care of the elderly, to help take care of the sick, to help take care of the children, right? This would go back to nurturing society to make society a more peaceful place. The profits of the federal government, right? And now all of a sudden you say, well, the central bankers aren't going to like that message that much. Well, they actually will. And you say, well, why are they going to like that message? Because most people, they want to do things in a way that, like, for example, it's like these guys have done this and that, and they really have, in my opinion, robbed society of the wealth, but they've also given a lot of value to society, and they're fantastic Jewish leaders. And so the reality is that if you do something that's going to piss them off, they're going to get mad. But they're not going to get mad about us paying off the debt. They're going to be like, that is the most money I could even imagine. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I've got a lot of money now. You know what I mean? If we pay off when we pay off the national debt, the central bankers, the rich, the elite, they're all going to be very happy because they've got all this money. Okay, we can't think it's going to happen in a different way. And then what we do is we say, as a exchange for us paying off the national debt, you take 10% of you have to give 35% or something of your wealth away. So 10% is going to go towards buying gold and silver for the United States. And then you get to own 10% of the gold and silver supply or something like that, if they help us buy a lot of gold and silver. So they help us buy a bunch of gold and silver. Okay. They help us buy a bunch of gold and silver. And we utilize that to create real currency in the United States. And then the real currency system, then they're all of a sudden, it's like, that's going to make them more money over a long period of time than even the old central banking system would, because it's real currency, and they have all this wealth that they can invest into real assets and things like this. And they're actually going to eventually end up making more money like that. And so in any case, then 10%, for example, I want them to go to the Native Americans, maybe 10% to restore and rebuild Jerusalem, and maybe another 5% to construct energy weapons in Zion. Right? We have all these relationships and stuff like that where we say we just made you $23 trillion. Okay. How are you going to use this to benefit society? Right? Does that make sense? And we give part of that to the Native Americans, to where, the Native Americans all of a sudden, if they went out and made $100, it would get matched from the fund that was put there. And that's a way of rewarding them, and then helping them get more land and stuff like that, and helping them restore nature and stuff like that. And the Native American fund could go towards doing things like, for example, helping the rivers become clean, and helping the nature be restored, and helping restore the cattle, and all the stuff that we need on the face of the earth to supply love and blessing to humanity. All right. So in any case, this system, essentially what we would do is we'd architect it together, right? We'd get the best technology minds in the world. And how do you build a system like that? It's like, well, how do you build it? Well, you get somebody like my old coder together with Jeff Bezos, together with Mark Zuckerberg, together with the founders of Google. Because I'll tell you, those companies could make the government profit. They already know how to do it. Right? They just haven't thought about it yet. So we get all these things together, and we say, okay, what do we want the system to do? What's the intention of the system? Okay. All right. What are the various parts of the system that we need? All right. What are the various parts of the system that we need to make this work? Okay. Now let's map it out into specifics, right? And then let's make flowcharts and stuff like this. How are we going to handle the email? How are we going to handle the marketing? Who's going to do the marketing? Right. And then all of a sudden the government is doing marketing for all these local businesses and all these local products and all the various different opportunities and different things that exist out there in the marketplace. And now all of a sudden, everybody can just like plug themselves into this, and then everybody's promoting each other's businesses, and they're participating in the government spending system. So we get people logging into the system, and we say, we encourage you to log in, 10 minutes to an hour a day, and just for a little while while we're getting this under handle. And then our artificial intelligence software is going to bring to light all the spending that's going on in the government and things that maybe look a little off. And then you're going to look at those, and every single expenditure, every dime, every penny, every dollar of the entire United States government flowing through that flows through the government, 100% of every tax dollar, of every government dollar, is going to get checked and investigated by the people. Now, all of a sudden, it's very difficult to charge $400 for a hammer and then have somebody steal $300 because they're going to get fired. And so, Donald Trump learned from his books that you got to, pursue thievery relentlessly. You don't let people steal. And so when people have the opportunity to take advantage, what do? They take advantage, right? So This is what people do. So we make literally, there is no opportunity whatsoever anywhere in the government to take advantage of the system. Zero. And then what happens is now all of a sudden in a system like that, what's going to happen to the debt in the nation? It's going to just exponentially reduce. You have no, because now all of a sudden what's Congress focused on? They're like, well, I got to make more money. How are they going to make more money? They're going to make more money by promoting, by basically how profitable their states are, and so they represent their states, and then we build a system with the state governments. We kind of re-architect some of the system of America. We do this at the federal government level. We do this at the states, and then we test it before we bring it out to everybody. Now all of a sudden, Congress, they're making money by reducing expenditures and making the government more profitable and creating peace. And now all of a sudden, their way of keeping score is changing. All of a sudden, the United States is much more open to free trade, right? All of a sudden, we've got more clean immigration policies that are based in people making America money to come to America, and then everybody basically helps America profit. And then what we do is we create contracts and we help other governments do it as well. We help other countries do it as well. We help other kingdoms do it as well. And everything is checked and balanced by systems and the people in local communities. So for example, an expense would be investigated. Somebody says, I postulate that there's something wrong. Let's do an investigation. And then another 2 members of the local community go and they check on it. They find that the expenditure is out of hand, right? They go back and they submit a request to tank that expenditure, or to change it, or to get a more cheap product, or to get a less retarded contract, right, in place. We start rewriting all the government contracts to not just be like the government's just going to give you money for nothing. And then we do things like, for example, the grant system in America it's mentally insane. Okay, so you have the United States. It gives. The United States gives grants to businesses and stuff like that. First of all, where does this money even come from? I actually don't know, to be fair. But there's no sense in the government giving a grant to a business without the government. If they're giving a grant to a business to start a business, the government should own 10% of that business. Then all of a sudden, the why should it own it? Because it gave them money. Society gave this place money, and therefore society needs to have a check and balance and some sort of profit mechanism in that business. Now that person could buy out that 10%, or they could just leave that there and share the profits with the government, and then they would have not the government invading their economics, but they would have checks and balances from the government combined with the people saying, okay, is this business being managed properly, right? Is the economics of this business broken? Right now, all of a sudden, everybody's motivated in society. Everybody's motivated by the right things, which is profitable activities. What's going to build a business for you faster than any other kind of motivation? It's going to be motivated in staying focused on profitable activities, right? If you stay focused on profitable activities, then what's going to happen is you are going to make just a wild amount of money. Okay, so this is I'm done with this video. Okay, I hope this helped you understand the only government approved money getting system. I got an assignment for you. Just walk up to 5 people today and say, hey, have you heard of the only government approved money getting system, right? And just see what they say. If they start laughing, now men are more likely to laugh at that than women. You can tell women it's the only government approved money giving system, right? Because the women will probably go in there and spend a lot of time after they get money saying, how is the government going to reallocate these funds that they're saving, the profits from the government, into paying off national debt, into creating national security, into making sure that there's no homelessness, and into making sure that the rivers are clean, and whatever, right? Hope that helps.